John Swinney says nobody knows the tactics he's going to use in his campaign for independence. Do you?
Well, we spent 2.5 hours at this conference talking about our approach to independence and the route to independence, debating it in the full glare of all the media cameras. And what we have settled on and the party has backed is to build on the precedent of 2011, where the SNP won a major electoral breakthrough with an outright majority, and that is what secured an independence referendum a few years after. So that is the approach that we are taking into 2026.
So what's his secret then?
Well, we will take our message to the people of Scotland over the next 8 months.
Have you got a secret?
In the run-up to the next election. And the approach that we will set out is that by voting SNP, you get a government that will always back Scotland, back Scottish business, back Scottish households, but will also provide an alternative to the broken Britain that other parties are proposing.
Is his secret for when the UK Prime Minister says no?
Well,
is that what he's keeping secret?
We've got the precedent from 2011, which clearly led to, in that case, a Conservative government allowing for an independence referendum. And that is the approach that we believe will break the logjam. Now, quite obviously, the conversations that John Swinney has after that outright majority is secured are not for disclosing here and
so
now,
that's the secret.
Ahead of those conversations happening with Keir Starmer, or, to be honest, whoever's Prime Minister at that point.
But he does have a secret strategy for that.
Well,
you're convinced of that?
Well, his approach has been set out at conference into what we will take into the next election. And what happens after will be for John Swinney to disclose at that time.
Do you think the SNP can get a majority at next year's election?
Yes.
Why are you not standing then? Do you not think you're going to be missing out? I know you've got personal reasons for not standing, but you're not going to miss out horribly politically. Deputy First Minister just now then watching from afar.
Well, I have to say, after 3 days of SNP conference, I have been so inspired and buoyed by what I've heard from members and the debates that we've had.
A U-turn?
And it's been
Are we
great.
Getting a U-turn
You're
here?
not getting a U-turn, sadly, because I have a brilliant candidate to replace me called Aileen Munro.
Now, he set out his fresh start. It's hard to make it sound like a fresh start after, well, for John Swinney, more than 40 years in the SNP, 18 years in government. How do you sell that as a fresh start to the voters next year?
It's a fresh start for Scotland. I mean, right now, households are struggling.
It's the oldest fresh start ever,
wages are
surely.
flatlining. The challenges around growth, economic growth, productivity, inequality, these are terminal. They can't be fixed within the current UK system. And the point that John Swinney is making is that Scotland needs a fresh start with power in the hands of the people of Scotland.
The fresh start that he's talking about on currency is pretty much what was offered 10 years ago in the last referendum. There's no fresh start there.
The fresh start for Scotland is about living in a country where we've got
currency. Address
energy,
it in terms of currency.
but nobody in fuel poverty.
Address it in terms of your currency policy.
In terms of our currency policy, we have set that out. I don't think when it comes to persuading the people of Scotland, they'll be focused as much on currency as they will be on what it means for them,
but you
what
know,
it means for their
might
wages.
be because it affects, and it means what it means to them is what's the future for their mortgage, what's the future for their pension.
So what they care about is whether or not wages are rising. What they care about is whether they can afford to go to the local supermarket and actually buy the essentials to feed their kids. What they care about is whether or not the growing industries in our country are reinvesting in communities. That's what they care about, and that is what the SNP offers to the people of Scotland.
And all that's affected by the currency. You can't say how long you would keep the Scottish pound, whether you join the euro. You can't tell them.
Well,
you can't give them any guarantees on that, can you?
We can be quite clear in terms of the position that the SNP has set out, which is that we would move to our own currency when it was practicable to do so. So we've set out that quite clearly. But I hear from voters day in, day out, from my constituents, that they cannot believe that since the financial crash, their wages have essentially flatlined while costs have gone up. And the Westminster parties are offering no solution under Labour. They've seen fuel bills go up yet again. And with the SNP, we believe that we need a fresh start with independence.
In his conference speech today, John Swinney railed against the rise of the right at Westminster, and he backed immigration in Scotland. That's not just really against the right at Westminster. That's really against where a lot of the voters are in Scotland now, isn't it?
I can tell you of one care home where 44% of the staff are from overseas. If they can't stay, that care home closes. I believe that our elderly deserve the best care. That means our care homes need workers. Many of those workers come from overseas. So to clamp down on immigration, as Keir Starmer is proposing, because he wants to out-reform reform, is hugely detrimental to our economy and to our public services.
And it's a clear challenge to the people who are putting flags on lampposts all around here in Aberdeen, because actually there were no flags. This is the first conference of conference season where there were no flags in the conference hall. It's a challenge to people on the right, isn't it?
Well, it's a challenge that if we care about our public services, if we care about a growing economy, we need people. We're a small country of 5 million people. We know more about emigration than about immigration in Scotland, and we welcome refugees and believe in the importance of migration.
And another of the policy announcements in the First Minister's speech was walk-in GP services. Why has it taken so long to come up with something so simple?
Well, the walk-in GP services, which will run from 12 noon to 8 p.m, allows people that are otherwise working to drop in at a time of their convenience. We've seen GP numbers rising by 4% in Scotland, and we'll spend the next year putting in place 15 of these pilot services to ensure that they work for both the health service and for people who need them.
Will that tackle all the problems you're facing in the NHS?
Well, the NHS has faced its challenges, and yet we're seeing knee and hip operations up, we're seeing GP numbers up, we're seeing some of the challenges.
I don't dispute that, but we're also seeing record levels of private knee and hip operations because people are still having to wait so long. And I accept that you've got them at record levels, but it's not actually getting those waiting lists down, is it?
Well, I think John Swinney's been really clear that we recognise there are challenges in our health service. Some of those are caused by the legacy of COVID, some of those are caused by some of the challenges around recruitment, but either way there are challenges, and as a First Minister who's absolutely focused on delivery, reducing waiting times, improving services and looking after patients.
Very briefly, in your speech today, you talked about the closure of the Grangemouth oil refinery as a dark day in Scotland's national heritage. You've pledged 25 million to support new jobs. Have you spent any of that yet?
Well, we have made huge amounts of progress in terms of whittling down a list of potential businesses.
Have you spent any money on them yet?
To secure that funding. We're in that final stage and we'll announce the funding that has been allocated as soon as possible. I'm not going to announce it tonight.
How soon will there be jobs created?
Well, I want to see it announced as quickly as possible, and certainly before the next election.
Kate Forbes, thanks for joining us in Scotland tonight.